Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and I am joined by John Lamb, someone who has investigated the incident that happened. Of course, LaVoy Finicum, someone who is, to me, a true hero, someone who was murdered in cold blood. We just heard Jeanette Finicum, his wife, his widow, speaking here at the Red Pill Expo in Bozeman, Montana, and it's hard. It's a difficult thing to listen to, but it needs to be listened to. Her story needs to be listened to. And John, can you go into what happened leading up to LaVoy's murder?
So from the refuge you're talking about in Oregon?
Yes.
We know back in January of 2016, they started with the Hammond family there. It was another ranching family that was being prosecuted by the federal government over a back burn that they burned some grass, about 120 acres all total, on their ranch to protect it from an ongoing forest fire that was coming. Mm-hmm. And it's common here in Montana where I live at, we do the same thing. If there's fires that are coming, we try to do these back burns to protect our homes and our barns and our livestock. Mm-hmm. And they was being sentenced to 5 years in prison. They had already served right at a year and been released by one federal judge. The prosecutor said, well, it wasn't enough time. They wanted them to go back. So people from all over the country, included LaVoy Finicum, the Bundy family, and multiple other people, came to Burns, Oregon to protest this unjust prison sentence. Mm-hmm. Double jeopardy is what most people called it. Mm-hmm. They showed up there and it wasn't seeming to work. They've been there about a month almost, and off and on, showing up and having different rallies. Mm-hmm. And at the last, they decided to make a hard stand and protest at a federal wildlife refuge. And on January 2nd, a group of about 20 people went out there and decided to protest there and make a stand, and that's what happened. And January 26th is when LaVoy Finicum, on his way to a meeting in another county, was shot down by the Oregon State Police and FBI.
I'm going to meet the sheriff. The sheriff is waiting for us. So you do as you damn well please. But I'm not going anywhere. Here I am, right there. Right there, put a bullet through it. You understand? I'm going to go meet the sheriff. You back down or you kill me now. Hang on.
Okay, we're here.
Go ahead and shoot me.
Damn! Trying to. Stay down, stay down. Stay down. Stay down. Stay down. Damn it. Are they shooting him? Did I shoot him? You assholes. Oh my God! Okay.
And he left his gun, which is unusual for him, but the fact of the matter is he left his gun at the refuge.
He definitely did, and I've investigated this. I've been out to the refuge. I've camped where LaVoy was murdered there along the Highway 395. I stayed there one time for 5 days straight, camping in a tent, going over the videos, going over different things with other people. And LaVoy did not take his gun that day. LaVoy left his gun. He always carried a 6-shooter on his side, an old .44 cowboy gun, which the cops nowadays, they all have semi-automatic stuff or even automatic stuff. And he left it back at the refuge, and he did not take it with him.
And we've all seen the video, the main video from, I believe, the helicopter showing his murder. And of course, their theory, and I call it more of a lie, was that he reached for his gun, which he did not have. But in reality, he reached for the other side after what?
It happened really quick. It was just a few seconds. His hands were up when he came out of the truck, and then someone came out of the woods behind him, and it's very clear on the video. And a shot was fired. An officer had his arm, actually left arm, extended with a gun or a taser or something that looked like a gun. It went off, and LaVoy's hands came down, and his right hand went to his left side low, not to where a gun would be. Yeah. His 6-shooter was always on his right side, but it went low, And seconds later, he dropped to the ground, and as the autopsy shows from the coroner, he was shot 3 times. One was low, and 2 of them are up higher in the back. All of them are from the back. He was shot 3 times in the back, which killed him.
It's absolutely sickening. We were going to have Jeanette Finicum joining us for this, but I just didn't want her to have to go through what she was on stage moments ago.
Very emotional.
Very emotional, and I don't blame her. I think everyone in the audience was quite emotional. I'm having a hard time keeping it together myself. But the fact is, LaVoy was a hero. He was murdered, and there is a massive cover-up, and it goes deep because they continue. The people who murdered him are still walking to this day, and it infuriates me because this all goes back to someone standing as a free human being, a free individual for something that's right. He didn't threaten anyone. He didn't use violence or force against anyone. He simply stood for something that he believed in, and he was murdered in cold blood for it.
Going almost on 18 months, and she still does not know the names of the officers that shot him. They say it's under investigation yet. She is trying to sue for wrongful death. They're not even giving her enough to go on to try to even sue for wrongful death or even bring it up in trial. After almost 18 months, the names are even hidden. She don't even know the full details on it. She hasn't even got her truck back, her husband's truck, and he owed several thousand, even owed money at the bank on it. They've even kept the truck. They kept his clothes, his cowboy boots, everything that he had on that day when he was murdered. They've kept all of that for evidence. She's not got none of it back. One thing they do not have is they do not have the gun that he had on his side, which they claimed that he had or he went for a gun. They don't have none of that as evidence.
It's just absolutely sickening. I want to quickly plug this book. It's a novel by LaVoy Finicum, and it's actually, it's frightening to read some of his words because in a way he kind of predicted his own death in this book.
It is. It's a very good book to read, and it came out just a couple of months before he was murdered, and it was well written. And it's a novel. It's supposed to be fiction, but there's a lot of interesting stuff in there.
Absolutely, and it's been encouraging to see the amount of people who are giving support to Jeanette Finicum at this moment, because I can't, just the feeling I get from this story, I can't imagine what she's going through. And I really hope that people come together, just donate a little bit, help out in any way you can, because this needs to come to light. So can you tell us a bit about these court proceedings and the lack of decent lawyers involved?
The lawyers, and I met these lawyers personally that have been trying to work with her, and some of them don't feel qualified. One attorney that took money from her from California was on the case a short time, decided he did not want to take the case. This is usually a pro bono type case. A wrongful death suit is where most lawyers are wanting to get on board to take it because they know they're going to get paid in the end. It's been very, very hard for her to find a lawyer that will actually work for her without wanting all this money, thousands and thousands of dollars up front. Even $50,000 up front is a lot of money for her to put out when she has no other income, no other way to support herself. She's still trying to live on the ranch. She's running it with her youngest daughter and herself. And I've been there myself and seen it's not easy to run a ranch like that without your husband and having to deal with that yet from him being murdered. So it's tough. I hope everyone supports her or just buys the book from her.
I really hope so. And there are so many people that fought alongside LaVoy at the refuge and on the Bundy Ranch, and there's many that are still in prison. Can you go into that? People like Pete Santilli, he was there reporting on the story, and he's in prison. Can you go into this?
You know, I've been in every single trial, all the way back. As soon as LaVoy was murdered, I was there in Oregon on the ground, and I've dedicated my time and made sure I'm there. I was there when the not guilty verdict came down in Oregon for these guys. Pete Santilli, charges were dropped. Instead of releasing him, they transferred him over to Nevada, and where he's still sitting in prison, awaiting on a trial that's still an unknown date. He doesn't even know when this court date's going to be. Pete Santilli's another one of them. He's a reporter just like yourself or myself, and we're trying to get the truth out there. They're trying to hide this truth. He has no bond or pretrial release under the conditions they've got him under a terrorist, and he never carried a gun. Pete Santilli, not one time. You can't find where he ever had a gun or brought one at any of these rallies or protests that he went to. He just came with his camera, and he portrayed the truth. He told what was going on, and he's locked up for that. There's 19 guys total in Nevada locked up, including 5 of the Bundys, without any bond. Most of them don't even know when they're going to go to court. There's 4 guys coming up on July 10th. Those 4 guys have already been tried in Nevada, and it was found a hung jury. Then the judge called it a mistrial, and they're retrying the guys again, all over again, after 17 plus months in prison. We don't know where the end of this is going to be yet.
If this doesn't infuriate you, I don't know what will. When we see people that are simply fighting for freedom, the obligation and responsibility of all free men and women, when we see people like this go to jail and get murdered in cold blood, this should rile up everyone. There should be people in the streets. But unfortunately, so many people are afraid. They're afraid that they're going to end up like those in prison. I remember listening to the audio that night when they were arrested. I heard them live. They live streamed, I believe, their conversation on over a phone. And I remember listening to the fear in their voices, and I don't blame them at all. They knew what was going to happen to them.
They thought every one of them was going to die. They thought they was all going to die. And that was, I know that live stream myself. I was right there listening to the whole thing. I couldn't hardly shut it off. I wanted to watch the whole thing myself because I was afraid the federal government was going to go kill them, just like they did in Waco or Ruby Ridge and other places we've heard. And
everyone has heard at this point of Waco. Everyone at this point has heard of Ruby Ridge, and everyone should know of this case because this may not be as many dead, but this is still just as important of a case because it involves free human beings getting locked up in cages for standing for what they believe, and a hero like LaVoy Finicum being murdered. This should be on the same level as Ruby Ridge and Waco. Where are the major documentaries on television? Where are the major groups and lobbies and groups of people that are standing up in the streets for this? It's insane. John, where do you see this going in the next year?
You know, if we don't win some of this in court, like we're hoping, lots of freedom of people are going to lose it. In these courts, I'm sitting in Nevada watching these judges, and the judges are saying that you cannot protest or you cannot, with your First Amendment right and your Second Amendment right at the same time, that if you even have a gun on your side, which you have a right according to the Constitution, that if you have a gun on your side, it intimidates or scares a police officer, you can be arrested now. You don't have no rights. I mean, to protect yourself, you don't have no rights to freedom of speech. As you can see, Pete Santilli's in jail, Blaine Cooper's in jail, Michael Emery, and I can just go on and on.
And we don't have any freedom to property rights. We don't have any freedom at all. And this is the problem. We have freedom to walk around on the streets, watch TV, and everyone thinks that's just fine. But it goes so much deeper. Individual freedom comes down to just that, the individual. And as long as you aren't using force against other people, you should be free of the hand of the state. You should be free of the hand of coercion and force. And this is so important. Folks, please only buy Blood and Suffering by LaVoy Finicum. Just help support this cause. I don't usually pitch causes like this on World Alternative Media, but I think this is incredibly important. This woman lost the love of her life. And just picture look at your wife, look at your husband, imagine someone taking them from you just because they stood for what they believed was right. Just imagine the anguish, just imagine how sickened you would be, and just imagine how much you would hope other people would be able to help you in a time like that. It's so important, and I want people to support this. Please don't donate to me, donate to this cause. And I'm going to wrap it up right there, John. I hope we speak again, and I'm sure we will. We've interviewed John before. If you want a more extensive look into what we covered today, you can just look up John Lamb on YouTube. You can find his videos, you can find mine, and I really hope that you start to feel more personal about this, because this does affect you. If they came for, you know, it's that old saying, they came for the Jews,
yes,
and I said nothing. They came for the Muslims and I said nothing. They came for the Christians and I said nothing. And then they came for me, and
yes,
no one was left to stand for me. And that's what it all comes down to. So please support this cause. Thank you.
LaVoy's famous words were, "It matters how you stand."
Absolutely. And that's how we'll end
Yes.
this off. Thank you.
Thank you a lot. Thanks.